With free agency less than just 1 month away, rumor season is here, and one Jets insider has released a 10-step plan to what he believes could be the code to fix the New York Jets. A lot to get into. We'll break it down and much more, all coming up here on a Thursday edition of NY Flight Jets Talk.
Jets, Jets, let's go.
Jets wide receiver Wesley Walker. Wesley, how you doing today? ESPN writer Mr. Rich Cimini, Jets reporter for The Athletic, Mr. Zach Rosenblatt, Hall of Famer and Jets legend Mr. Marty Lyons.
Your host, Connor Law.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back into another edition of NY Flight Jets Talk, Thursday, February 20th, 2025. I greatly appreciate all your support here on the show. Make sure you smash that like button. You are subscribed to the channel on your way into the building. It's completely free, and it helps us grow significantly. Free way to support, like I said, though. It helps us grow significantly, trying to hit 2,000 subscribers by the start of the NFL Draft. We're currently at 1,632. Please hit subscribe, completely free, and helps us grow. That's the free way, but the paid way to help support the show that helps us just as much is contributing to our membership/super chat raffle. Every $2.99 super chat or every membership gifted will get you a ticket into our raffle. The prize we're giving away this month include a Joe Klecko signed jersey, a Mark Gastineau signed jersey, a Bill Parcells signed photo, a free item from our merch store, and a channel emoji. You guys have been very generous, so I can't thank you enough for that. Appreciate you all tuning in. Get your questions in. We'll get to those. If you want to call into the show, click the pinned comment at the top of the chat. Well, here we are, February 20th, like I said, 2025, and we're approaching free agency. Like I said, I've been saying it the past few weeks, the Rodgers stuff and the head coach GM search has taken up the most of the offseason and eventually led fans to forget, well, we still have, one of the biggest times in really NFL year round, which is free agency, and certainly a fun time for us New York Jet fans, as we know, because the Jets are the champions of the offseason. Jets insider Zach Rosenblatt for The Athletic released a 10-step plan on how he thinks the Jets can return to glory if they follow these 10 steps to his plan. Like I said, guys, any questions, throw them in the chat. Get to those. You can call into the show with the pinned comment at the top of the chat. Let's bring up the article here from Zach Rosenblatt. We'll break it down step by step, and then I'll give my insight as we go. Let's pull it up here on the screen. Let's see. How do we... I think this could be a good way of doing it. You'll see me down below, and then we'll zoom in. All right, here we go. Just let me know if you guys, if you see it clearly, and then we will get started. I wanted to put myself down low so you guys can kind of see it better. You could see me at the bottom of the screen, the main screen, taking over the entirety here as we break down this article from Jets insider Zach Rosenblatt of The Athletic. All right, seems to be good. Just I'm waiting for some final clarification in the chat before we get into it. Just let me know if you guys can see it, and then we will get started into breaking down this, what was an incredible article from our guy Zach Rosenblatt, who should be joining us in the next week or two on the program, so we could talk about his article, talk about all of his latest reports surrounding the New York Jets and New York Jets football. Because, like I referenced earlier, it's the off season, so it's time for us to shine. All right. Seems there's no issue, so we're gonna get right into it. First step: officially cut or trade Aaron Rodgers. Now, this is something I think Zach might have been just looking, I want to throw another thing in there, and I thought it was a good idea, because let's keep in mind here, the current cap situation we're looking at with the Jets right now does not include the Jets moving on from Aaron Rodgers. So moving on from Aaron Rodgers will free up additional cap space this year, because they're expected to use a post-June 1 designation on him, eating only $14 million of his $49 million dead cap hit this year, and then saving the remaining $35 to take next year. So great move by Zach here, and the Jets won't receive full cap relief, $9.5 million from the move until then. So until June, the Jets won't have that $9.5 million, which I think is pretty interesting. And then the next one still involves Aaron Rodgers. Cut Rodgers BFFs for cap space. When he says BFFs, he's talking about his best friends in Davante Adams and Allen Lazard. Cutting Davante Adams is going to open up a ton of cap space. So you cut him right now. You cut him with a post-June 1 designation. That opens up $36.2 million in cap room while eating only $2 million. Obviously, that full 36 doesn't go right into the cap this year. It says Adams will free up $29.8 million after all the tax and stuff, and then cutting Lazard will get the Jets another $6.6 million, giving them more than $50 million in cap space even before Rodgers comes off the books. So I think cap, the Jets having enough cap space was a massive concern for a lot of fans towards the end of the season. Guys, this team is going to have over $50 million in cap room for the new regime, and Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji come in and try to establish their culture, bringing in players that fit the scheme, being able to pay the draft picks, being able to pay their year one draft picks a fine amount of money. I think the Jets, while I don't think they're going to make the huge splashes we've seen in years past, don't count the Jets out in free agency this year. I think it was just a massive turnoff. That's why I wanted to address it. It was a massive turnoff that people were under the assumption that the Jets had $25-30 million in cap room to work with. Whoa, that's not the case. There's a strong chance the Jets end up being top 10 in the league when it comes to cap space, when the Jets make all the cuts along with the other teams. So don't count the Jets out to, be pretty active in free agency this offseason. Next move, also Intel's moving on from a veteran, is move on from CJ Mosley. Now, this is a really interesting one. Zach Rosenblatt recommending the Jets to move on from CJ Mosley because the Jets don't save money if they move on from him. Veteran who dealt with a lot of injuries last year. He took a pay cut just a few years ago. I wonder if I think two things are either going to happen. I think he's either going to retire or he's going to take another pay cut to stay with the Jets. I think there's a strong chance he retires because, he's in his mid-30s. He's towards the end of his career. I mentioned he took a pay cut just a few years ago to stick around. He might have to do the same thing again. He strikes me as someone who Aaron Glenn would really want to stick around, a veteran leader to help, continue. Look what CJ Mosley's helped, turn Quincy Williams into. Look what he's helped turn Jamien Sherwood into. And, Zaire Barnes, maybe coming off an injury, you see what you have with him. CJ Mosley can kind of be the mentor for Zaire Barnes, like we saw him be for Jamien Sherwood and Quincy Williams. The best idea with CJ Mosley, in my opinion, is you bring him back on another pay cut. Cutting him, I don't think helps you. I don't think cutting CJ Mosley helps you at all because yet you're creating another hole, which I would dub unnecessary. Like I think the Jets most likely moving on from Morgan Moses is. So I think you keep CJ Mosley. I think he's willing to take a pay cut. He's a big locker room guy, and I like CJ Mosley. He's either going to be linebacker 2 or linebacker 3, no matter what, if he comes back next year, depending on if the Jets decide to re-sign Jamien Sherwood or not. So give me CJ Mosley again on a rework contract. I would disagree with that part on trying to move on from Mosley. Speaking of the linebacker position, and another name we spoke about says re-sign Jamien Sherwood and Morgan Moses. I'll start with Jamien Sherwood. I really, really want Jamien Sherwood to come back next season. He's a homegrown talent who really, really blew up last year. Again, he was third. I think he's third in the league in tackles. Here's the thing. That was under Jeff Ulbrich, Robert Saleh. He clearly fit their defensive scheme. The question here is he going to fit Steve Wilks and Aaron Glenn's scheme? And that is still what we're trying to figure out. I could see Jeff Ulbrich and the Atlanta Falcons looking at him and saying, hey, we'll give you, 3 for 25, 3 for 20 if you want to come and play here. Same thing for Robert Saleh and the San Francisco 49ers. I'm comfortable paying Jamien Sherwood 3 years, $20 million, something along those lines to try to bring him back. Again, a homegrown talent on the younger side. But at the same time, we keep saying homegrown. Let's keep in mind, Aaron Glenn, Darren Muji, this was not the regime that drafted Jamien Sherwood. So we're gonna have to all keep that in mind moving forward. I think you do everything you can to re-sign Jamien Sherwood. And if he's truly a great player, he should be able to adapt to the scheme. If he's a top 3, top 5 linebacker in all of football, which I think his ceiling is, he should be able to adapt to new schemes. So at the right price, I'm all for bringing Jamien Sherwood back next season. Same goes for Morgan Moses. The past few days we were talking about the report from Connor Hughes of SNY stating that the Jets are most likely to move on from Moses. Everything I said about CJ Mosley directly applies to Morgan Moses, except taking a pay cut because Morgan Moses is a free agent, and then you'd only need to bring him back for about $5 million next season. But, a leader guy being able to come in and potentially groom the next right tackle for the franchise. So Morgan Moses, again, the injuries are a massive concern. I'm not asking him to come in and be a starter. I'm asking him to be a veteran leader, help train the team's next right tackle. while also, providing quality depth. He was basically, when he was on the field last year, he was an average starting right tackle. He wasn't durable in the sense he didn't get injured, but he would play through these gruesome injuries. Really, really tough guy. Great guy you want to have in the locker room. So again, Jamie Sherwood at the right price, and then Morgan Moses under any circumstances where I am on that step. So great writing by Zach there. And then the next one's probably one of my favorites here: extend Garrett Wilson and exercise other fifth-year options. So when he says other fifth-year options, he's talking about Sauce and Jermaine. He's talking about, because they obviously Breece fans are probably like, where's Breece on that list? Well, they don't have a fifth-year option on Breece since he was a second-round pick. So if I had to make a prediction just off topic, what I think they're going to do with Breece, either he's going to play out this year, he's either going to get traded, or they're going to put a tag on him. I don't think they're going to let him walk for absolutely nothing. I think he's either going to be tagged, like I said, next season, or he will be traded. That's what I think Jets will do with Breece Hall. But Garrett Wilson is someone who is the definition of quarterback proof. When's the last time the Jets have had a wide receiver selected in the top 10? I think, Garrett Wilson, 10th overall pick, I think it was. Yeah, so when was the last time the Jets have had a wide receiver selected in the top 10? It was completely quarterback proof and has the potential to be, the franchise's wide receiver one long term. I'm trying to think. Keyshawn and two, like, it's a really, really small list. So the fact that you were able to find Garrett Wilson in the first round and 1,000 yards all three of his seasons in the NFL, working with all different quarterbacks ranging from Aaron Rodgers through Tim Boyle, Zach Wilson, Trevor Siemian, and everything in between, that's pretty impressive that he's able to put up those numbers. Look, Garrett Wilson, the trade talks I think are a little much. I would pay him in that range, the Amon-Ra St. Brown range of 4 years, $120 million. I think you try to do everything you can to make a guy like Garrett happy. So among those four guys, Garrett Wilson today is the only player I feel comfortable paying, because he's demonstrated consistency throughout the entirety of his career. Sauce Gardner, great player. I love the guy, two-time All-Pro, two-time first-team All-Pro throughout his first 2 seasons in the league. Has to show me he's able to bounce back before I pay him. Breece Hall still hasn't shown me enough throughout his first few seasons in the league that he's worthy of a long-term contract, especially as a running back. And then Jermaine Johnson, I want the new regime to evaluate him at the end of the season, see how he looks after 1 year removed from the Achilles injury. So as of now, Garrett's the only one I feel comfortable paying, and I feel comfortable paying him a lucrative amount of money. Like I said, 4 years, $120 million, I think is a fair asking price for Garrett Wilson. So Zach and I are in lockstep with that. Here we go. Next one, sign Justin Fields, but consider drafting a quarterback. This is interesting. Justin Fields, the fan base is pretty much split on Justin Fields. Some are on, Tigo's boat of, no, Justin Fields terrible, you can't bring him in, he can't throw to save his life. And then others, like myself, are on the boat. Well, I'm not saying Justin Fields is a great quarterback, but among the options, he's at the top of the list for me. We're talking about a dual threat type guy, someone who's a free agent. You wouldn't need to trade for him. He's going to be 26 years old in a few months, can provide some upside, can provide some flair. 4-2 as a starter last season with the Steelers. While its arm strength might not, leave you in awe, you still have to worry about him beating you with his feet. So I think bringing in Justin Fields, I wouldn't mind, 1 year, $8 million. And like Zach mentions here, taking a swing on one, and take a swing on a quarterback this year in the draft or signing Fields, because this isn't the year like the past 2 seasons where it was, oh my God, this team's a quarterback away. This team's more than a quarterback away. So take a flyer on Fields. Hopefully you catch lightning in a bottle, but if not, what are your other bridge options next season that you're looking at? Taylor Heineke. Come on. So in my opinion, you pay Justin Fields the $7-8 million to come in, compete for the starting job with Tyrod Taylor. So I'm all on board with that for trying to bring Fields in here. You transition over to a run-heavy offensive system. You have to worry about him and Breece Hall both out of the backfield, him and both Braylon Allen out of the backfield, and potentially even Isaiah Davis in some special formation. So Justin Fields I'm on board with. Consider drafting a quarterback in the right round for sure. Jackson Dart in rounds 1 through 3. Hell no. A quarterback in round 4 or later. Talking if Will Howard somehow falls. Jalen Milroe potentially listed out some names there. Jalen Milroe, Will Howard, mentioned Dart, and then he mentioned Tyler Shaw. That I've read a lot of Zach's work recently, and he's been very, very vocal on Tyler Shaw. Maybe he's the guy the Jets go after as like a 6th or 7th round guy, because Jeremy Jets Chaos, shout out to him, who was on Jake's show the other day down at the Senior Bowl, said he was the most impressive quarterback by far. So Shaw was someone who I thought was going to pretty much go undrafted before he entered Mobile, but it sounds like he's boosted his draft stock now into a 6th, 7th round guy. So if the Jets really want to wait to draft a quarterback and he's someone they just want to take a complete flyer on, maybe Tyler Shaw is the guy. I know a lot of fans are really high on him. I have him as my quarterback 9, I think this year it is, and a lot of people, especially in last night's video, were going after me for that, saying it's crazy that I have Tyler Shaw as my 9th ranked quarterback and he should be so much higher. A lot of people telling me to go watch Todd McShay break down Shaw. So again, maybe he's that guy. I expect the Jets. This is what I think is going to happen. They're going to sign someone in free agency. I don't even want to say a veteran because I don't consider soon-to-be 26-year-old Justin Fields a veteran. They'll sign someone in free agency, I think, and then they'll draft a guy with Tyrod and the veteran pretty much competing for the starting job, with the rookie somewhat of an opportunity, and then Jordan Travis, quite frankly, competing for a roster spot. So if I had to make a prediction, I think they roll with 4 quarterbacks entering training camp next season. But I'm on board with signing Justin Fields and taking a flyer on a quarterback with the draft 1,000%. Let's see. Here's where it gets interesting. Let me go full screen here so you guys can see the whole bio on what Zach is saying, and my face isn't blocking the bottom part. This is where we get to free agency, and he starts to mention free agents the Jets should go after here. He says sign Levi Onwuzurike, linebacker Derek Barnes, and wide receiver Tim Patrick. So I'm going to start with Onwuzurike. Obviously, the Jets need a lot of interior defensive line help. Put a fatty in the middle. That's what a lot of fans have been saying recently. Has the connection to Aaron Glenn. I think this is going to be really interesting. I think Aaron Glenn and Steve Wilks, especially on the defensive side of the ball, are going to try to bring players in right away in free agency that fit their scheme. And Onwuzurike seemed to fit Aaron Glenn's scheme last year. 3 sacks, 4 assists. He forced a fumble, 18 stops. Let's see, 29 hurries, 13 hits, 45 total pressures. His run defense grade was actually pretty solid for PFF, 64.1. His pass rush grade was even better, 67.1 overall grade of 69.4, finished as the 33rd ranked interior defensive tackle last year. Look, is a Levi Onwuzurike signing going to leave us Jet fans in shock and wow, what a great move by Aaron Glenn? No, but he's someone I think who, let's be real, after Joe Douglas and Woody Johnson, I don't even want to say Joe Douglas because we don't even know how much power Joe Douglas has had in decisions after the past year or two. I'll say Joe Douglas and Woody Johnson, after they basically decimated the defensive line last season, the Jets are really, really needing a lot of depth there, and they're going to probably, I think, need another starter on the interior to plug in next to Quinnen Williams, whether it's a combination of addressing that in free agency and the draft, going after someone early, trying to get Mason Graham, interior defensive lineman out of Michigan. Kenneth Grant is a name who's fallen to me in a lot of my mocks. I know Dom C is very high on him, or the combination of even going after someone in free agency. So I think Onwuzurike provides a depth piece, someone who knows the scheme, and I was reading up on him when I saw this article. Seems like a locker room guy, seems to be well liked in Detroit. 6'3", 290 pounds, 26 years old. Levi Onwuzurike being signed as a backup wouldn't bother me at all. And then next up on this list was linebacker Derek Barnes, who Zach Rosenblatt suggested the Jets should sign in free agency. There's a pattern here, guys. All 3 of these players are from the Detroit Lions. Derek Barnes, 6 foot, 240 pounds, 25 years old. Was injured a lot last season, so it's hard to look at his numbers. 9 solo tackles, 0 sacks, 2 assists, 5 stops. So he was injured a lot last season. So let's look at his 2023 numbers, see what happened there. 54 solo tackles, 1 sack, 25 assists, a forced fumble. Let's see, 32 stops, 25 assists, and 704 total snaps on 19 total pressures. So again, Derek Barnes would be that linebacker. I think what Derek Barnes' role would look like is that linebacker 3 if CJ Mosley doesn't come back next year. Obviously, Zach's playing along with the narrative that CJ Mosley is not coming back next season. So I think this is potentially a guy who's not nearly as old as CJ Mosley. He's only 25 years old, but can come in and, you could plug him in as the linebacker 3 with this team. Familiar with the defensive scheme, and like I said, I can't hammer about that enough. The fact that Aaron Glenn, I think, is going to want a lot of his defensive players from Detroit who are free agents to come in and with this team because they know the scheme, they know what he's like, they know what it's like to be a part of a Dan Campbell, Aaron Glenn type culture. They've been a part of a resurgence the past few seasons. So both those guys I view as realistic names, and another really realistic name I could see the Jets trying to go after. Connection to both Aaron Glenn, Darren Muji. He was with Denver while Darren Muji was in Denver, and then he was also with Aaron Glenn in the Detroit Lions this past season. That's 31-year-old wide receiver Tim Patrick, 6'4", 212 pounds. It's hard to look at his numbers last season and really, form an opinion off that. 45 targets, 33 receptions for 394 yards, 3 touchdowns. I say that because the Lions have so many talented pass catchers, whether it's Amon-Ra St. Brown, whether it's Jameson Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield, David Montgomery out of the backfield, Sam Laporta. It's hard for a guy like Tim Patrick to get involved. I think he is he's an okay wide receiver too. I'd say he's an not above average, average to below average as a wide receiver 2 in this league, and then an average to above average wide receiver 3. Preferably, I wouldn't want him as a wide receiver 2. I'd want him as a wide receiver 3, and then add someone, whether that's drafting, Jaden Higgins out of Iowa in the 3rd round, Ted McMillan in the 1st round, signing another veteran, Marquise Hollywood Brown, Darius Slayton, someone of that nature. So I think Tim Patrick, I expect the Jets to add more than just one wide receiver this offseason through the draft and through free agency, because I think now most likely moving on from Allen Lazard to Devontae Adams as well is going to, open up. The Jets are going to really, really start to need some wide receiver help. So I wouldn't be surprised, though, if Tim Patrick ultimately, lands with the Jets this offseason. Next up here, some draft talks, is trade back and draft cornerback Will Johnson. This is really interesting, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on this, because Will Johnson overall, I'm a fan of it. I mean, 6'2", 202 pounds, watched 3 of his games this past season. Excellent length and size for his frame, plays patient, very, very controlled. And then he has the versatility, most importantly for me, to play both man and zone coverages, plays with anticipation, ready to make a big play, very strong tackler, who's, not afraid to go face up against ball carriers. The thing is, he's had he's had this toe injury that's been lingering the past few seasons. Gambler mentality is something else I notice at times pulls him out of position. He's just the one trying to go out and make plays, which is a big gamble, obviously. So Will Johnson at 7, definitely not. Depends how far you're trading back. Let me see if a cornerback is certainly need. You need to find someone to plug in right next to Sauce Gardner. Let me try to find if he says. He says the Jets. He just mentions the Jets trading back. So depends if you're trading back to 11, maybe not. If you're trading back to 15 or 17, potentially. So I'm okay with Will Johnson, but at the right price. I have a top 15 grade, I think it is, on him. So I'd preferably like to pick him up, in that 15 to 17 range if the Jets are going to trade that far back. The problem, for me, cornerback 2 that high is a big gamble when you, I think, can address that need in free agency with a Carlton Davis, with a Javarius Ward, rather having to use your 1st round draft pick this year on a cornerback. That's the way I view it. There's also other cornerbacks you can draft later in the draft this year, whether it's, Darian Porter, the cornerback out of Iowa. There's some other names sprinkled in there, day 3 guys the Jets can look for. So again, I'm not too big on drafting a cornerback right away in round 1 in the top 7, but if the Jets are able to trade back, like Zach said, recoup some assets, get to the 15th or 16th overall pick, I could find a way to get on board with it. All right, this is something else I was looking for. You mentioned signing Tim Patrick, but he says add another starting caliber wide receiver. Some names he mentions here: Jaden Higgins. We spoke about Jalen Royals, Mississippi's Trey Harris, Iowa State's Jalen Noel, TCU's Jack Beck, great catch at the Senior Bowl game, and then Oregon's Tez Johnson, who also had a great trip down to Mobile, and some veterans: Darius Slayton, Marquise Brown, Demarcus Robinson, Matt Collins, Nick Westbrook-Akine, and De'Ami Brown. I spoke about Darius Slayton in my free agent video just a few days ago. I think he makes the most sense on the list. Knows what it's like to, go through bad quarterback play with the Giants, was competent with bad quarterback play. Obviously, he has a rapport with Tyrod Taylor, crosstown rival with the New York Giants. I think that can make a lot of sense. Let's see. Matt Collins is another interesting one. I see him going back to Buffalo, though. Ultimately, if I had to, I don't see Marquise Hollywood Brown happening. Demarcus Robinson, no. De'Ami Brown, probably not. I'd see Darius Slayton is the most realistic, though, like I mentioned, overall on the list. Among the draft names, I'd probably say Jaden Higgins, I think, because you could get him at 92 and you won't have to potentially go, like, for example, Jack Beck is going to go somewhere in the 7th round. I think the Jets are going to want a 2nd round. I think the Jets are going to want to use the 2nd round pick to address the defense. A lot of really, really solid defensive players there. TJ Sanders from South Carolina, Xavier Watts, potentially Benjamin Morrison, if he's able to fall, Tyleik Williams, interior defensive lineman from Ohio State. If I'm the Jets, I think I use that pick to address defense, and then you go after pass catcher, whether it's Harold Fannin Jr., the tight end from Bowling Green, or Jaden Higgins, another example out of Iowa State with that pick. So Higgins probably makes the most sense for me there. Maybe Trey Harris. I'm slightly higher though on Jaden Higgins. Really like the way he looked down in Mobile and really liked his tape all season long. So I'd go with Jaden Higgins for the draft, Darius Slayton for the veteran route. And then last but not least, a great point, something I've been talking about. You guys know, if you've been keeping up with the show for a very, very long time, revamping the safety room. The whole safety room set to hit free agency, like Zach mentions there. The only one I could realistically see coming back next season is what's his name? Tony Adams for like $3 million on the ROFA tender. He lists out some free agents here. Veteran Marcus Williams, who was awful last season, but was solid in 2023. He was with Glenn in New Orleans. And then Justin Simmons from the Falcons was with Muji in Denver. ESPN listed Justin Reed as a fit for the Jets. You mentioned Javon Holland. There's some report indicating that they're probably going to use the franchise tag. I think there was a report stating nothing was confirmed. It was from that NFL Rumors Twitter account, stating that the Dolphins are going to try to use the franchise tag on Javon Holland. Nothing's official, but I probably expect the Dolphins to go that route with Holland, so I think he's off the table. Hufanga from the 49ers, he was out week 1. And then Cam Bynum with the Vikings. If I had to pick one on the list, it's Justin Reed, a great locker room guy, great culture guy. He's made an impact throughout his whole career, former first-round pick, I think it was second-round pick, actually, with the Houston Texans just a few years ago. Another bonus, he can kick. He can kick. We all know about the Jets' kicking struggles. Justin Reed can, fill 2 holes coming in as a starting safety and coming in as potentially, kickoff specialist. And if you need him to come in, kick a field goal, maybe he could get that done. But in all seriousness, I think Justin Reed, is the best option here. Has that ball hawking ability, great locker room guy, still on the younger side. I would really like him. And then Justin Simmons is someone who signed really, really late last year. Not too familiar with his numbers this past season, but if you get him at the right price, certainly. So among that list, though, if I had to pick just one overall free agent to sign, it would probably be Justin Reed. I'm super high on him. And then through the draft, says Malachi Starks, Nick Amanwari, Xavier Watts, and then Kevin Winston, Andrew Makupa. Malachi Starks, I think, is too rich for me in the first round. I'm getting a lot of Xavier Watts in the second round, and PFF's grading that out to be really, really nice. A super high football IQ, super high motor, able to get downhill, stop the run. I'm pretty high on him. Kevin Winston as well is also safety I really like. If I had to pick among those names, I'd probably go with Xavier Watts with the 42nd overall pick. I just think he's going to come in, make an impact right away. Great locker room guy. Seems like also a high football IQ, someone who's going to come in and make really great football plays out of the get-go. So someone who I think Aaron Glenn would want on this team. If I had to make a pick pick 2 names there, Xavier Watts and Justin Reed would be my ideal options. Appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you smash that like button. You are subscribed to the channel. Greatly appreciate all your support here on the show, completely free, and it helps us grow significantly. 22 of you guys watching here on YouTube, 23 likes. So yeah, we're smacking the like button. Like, share, and subscribe, completely free. Helps us grow significantly. We'll stay on here a little longer, answer your questions, take your calls. Any questions, throw them in the chat. If you want to call into the show, you could do so by clicking the pinned comment at the top of the chat. Say what's up to everyone. Caden, good to see you in the chat. Joshua, good to see you in the chat. BC, good to see you in the chat. Daniel Berry Sports Highlights in the chat. Mr. Jetski's in the building. Good to see you. Appreciate your support. Mr. K in the house. Good to see you, my man. And then Wild Wave in the building. Use the cap space to sign your own guys. Other than Jamie Sherwood, I think DJ Reed's a lost cause. I think he's going in free agency. If you can find a way to finagle out something with DJ Reed, I think you got to do that, because I think it's going to be really, really hard for the Jets to find more of a budget-friendly option to come in and play opposite Sauce Gardner next season. Jamie Sherwood, though, for me, you take DJ Reed out of that equation, Jamie Sherwood is the number one guy that I want to pay next season. So if that means, use that cap space to pay Jamie Sherwood $22 million for 3 years, over the next 3 years, so be it. If that means you use that to, pay Brandon Echols $10 million over the next season, okay, over the next 2 seasons, great. Like, if that means that you find a way to bring back Morgan Moses for $1 million, great. I think re-signing your own guys is certainly a great tactic in the NFL. Building through your core. I think, for example, letting Jamie Sherwood go, your homegrown talent, I think would be a massive mistake for the Jets. So I think it's a mix of, obviously retaining your own guys, re-signing them, yet also building through free agency. Mr. Business in the house, good to see you. Appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate your support. on the show, Mr. Plage44GN in the house. Good to see you. Appreciate you tuning in. As always, they better get Fields, or I don't see this coaching staff going far. I don't know. Fields for me would be the most exciting option. I don't think it's declaring the regime a fail right away, saying, "Oh my God, I'm punting on Aaron Glenn and Darren Mujic because they didn't give me Justin Fields." I think that's exaggerating a little there. The thing is, I personally would prefer Justin Fields if they want to go the free agency route. I still want Tyrod Taylor to be the day one starter. I think signing Fields is the guy you have in relief for Tyrod Taylor once he eventually goes down. Someone you feel comfortable starting 7 to 10 games for your team next season. I think that's what Justin Fields brings to the table. Our guy Jets Afterburners podcast, Dan Orliam, one of them, is in the chat. Appreciate you tuning in. As always, go sub up their channel, Jets Afterburner podcast. They're on tonight at 9 p.m., so less than 30 minutes away. So tune in for that. They're best Jets, some of the best Jets content creators out on the internet. So sub them up. Just over 1,000 subscribers, get them to 2K. They're the best. Liam called in yesterday. Was that yesterday? No, 2 days ago. Liam called in. So like I said, though, go check them out. Great Jets content. Joshua says trade Breece and AVT for draft picks in 2025. Resign Garrett and Sauce in 2026. Remain wait and see. I agree with the Jermaine wait and see. I want to wait one more season until I really make a big move at Sauce from a contractual standpoint. I would be open to trading Breece if that means you get like a 2 and a fund, another 2 this year and then a 5 this year as well. AVT, no. I think AVT, when he's healthy, he's a Pro Bowl caliber guard or tackle. That's the thing. You have the flexibility with him. Preferably, I want to keep him at the guard spot. I don't think you trade AVT because that's opening, again, we're talking about opening unnecessary holes. That's opening a hole in your starting offensive line. One of the big things I think why this team is in position, this team it isn't a complete rebuild is for the first time in what feels like 5 to 7 years, this team is 4/5 of the offensive line complete. 4/5. When's the last time that has happened? It feels like every year we're talking about, oh my God, the Jets have to replenish their, they need to get 4 new starters in next season. Nope, they really just need one more true starter here. So I don't think you change anything up with AVT. I think you keep them. But a team comes to me about Breece Hall, says we'll give you a 2nd-round pick and a 5th-round pick. Sure, I love Breece Hall. Signed helmet right here with Breece Hall's signature. I just don't think he's getting a second contract with this team, and you might as well get something for him now rather just moving on from him after this season or the season after and then not getting anything. So that's where I am on Breece Hall. I made a point about that on my show the other day. Our guy Sco in the house, fellow Mets and Jets fan, says, "What's up, Connor? Mets play Saturday." Yes, that's true. And Clay Holmes will be getting the starting nod. Still figuring out if I want to maybe do a watch party for that here on the show. We're still on. Maybe we'll do that. Let's go. Appreciate the support as always. And then our Chiefs fan, King Jamie the Mad in the house. King Jamie, good to see you. Appreciate you tuning in as always. Appreciate your support on the show. We're going to wrap up here soon. So final chance to get your questions, comments, thoughts in. Last chance to call into the show with the pinned comment at the top of the chat. Like I said, we're going to wrap up here soon. So last chance to get your final thoughts in. Appreciate all your support. We're back tomorrow at 8 p.m. Brian Costello of the New York Post will join us. We have a big-time NFL insider joining us soon, and the interview will be pre-recorded most likely. So if you want to have the opportunity, I'm saying this now, I said it yesterday, if you want to have the opportunity to ask the insider questions, find out who it is first off as well, join the Discord where all that info will be completely free. Great way to support the show, and the Discord is in the description of the show. So join that. And then again, like I said, you have the opportunity to receive exclusive channel updates, daily Jets talk, and again, find out when we're having these guests on. Sco says you going to the Mets home opener. Sco, probably not. I think my first game of the season, I'm probably going to go to like the series after. So I'll be there before July. I'm hoping to get to a game before July. What about you, Sco? Because I know you're a big Mets guy. Are you gonna be at the home opener? Let me know in the chat though. Like I said, final chance to get your questions in before we wrap. Every night 8 p.m. So if you're new, appreciate all your support. Make sure you like and subscribe. Welcome. And then if you're, a lot of, one of our many returning viewers here on the show, welcome back. Can't thank you enough for all your support. And then any advice you want to see on the show, that's something else you can throw in the Discord, help contribute to the show, make it, a better place as we talk all things New York Jets here every single freaking day at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's going to do it for me. Can't thank you enough for all your support here on this Thursday evening. I'm your host, Connor Long, signing off. JETS, 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 Jets.